Hey guys, so in this video I will be doing the whole first round of the NHL entry draft. For the draft less than 2 weeks away. This is my mock draft for the full first round, picks 1 to 31. And with Tampa leading their series against Dallas in the Stanley Cup final, I have Tampa picking 31st, or San Jose as their pick. So San Jose picking 31st and Dallas picking 30th. Even though Dallas could still come back, it's most likely that Tampa will win, and as you will see later on in this video when I get to those picks, it doesn't really matter the order of those picks, but I hope you stick around for the whole video. Let's try to reach 100 likes on this video. Right now we're currently at 103 likes for my previous NHL mock draft, so I know we can do it. So let's just remember to hit that like button and subscribe as always. And the New York Rangers taking Alexis Lafreniere. This is a pretty obvious pick. I hope you all agree with this one because Lafreniere is clearly the best player by far in this draft class. Now at the second overall pick, I have the LA Kings picking Tim Stutzla. I think that they're going to take him ahead of Byfield, and I personally think that Byfield might be slightly better, especially in LA where he's projected to be the next Kopitar, so he could just learn right under Kopitar. But I think Stutzla will end up putting up more points. Byfield will be the more complete player, though. But I just think that the Kings are leaning towards getting Stutzla, which brings us to number 3, where the Ottawa Senators will take the odd man out, which is Quinton Byfield. And if Stutzla goes number 2, Ottawa, they pretty much already confirmed it. They're taking Byfield at 3. If Byfield goes at 2, Ottawa's taking Stutzla at 3. Either way, they're getting a really, really good player. Now, the fourth overall pick, this is where things start getting interesting. The Red Wings have determined the rest of the draft, and they're taking Marco Rossi, as I think they're going to go with either Marco Rossi or Cole Perfetti. And Cole Perfetti is more of the sure thing, but Rossi, he actually put up, I think, more points than Alexis Lafreniere, and he actually just had like .001 less points per game than Lafreniere, as Rossi was playing in the OHL for the Ottawa 67s, and he put up big numbers for points, but he is a smaller player. He is 5'10", I believe, but I think they are going to take him ahead of Perfetti. I watched some other videos, and it looks like that between those two, I think Rossi is slightly more likely, and I agree, as I think he is the better player, as I'm going to go with that upside in Rossi. Now, with their second pick, I had the Ottawa Senators at 5th overall taking Lucas Raymond. Now, there have been some reports that Ottawa's top 3 are Jake Sanderson, Jack Quinn, and Yaroslav Askarov. And if that is actually true, Sens fans, I feel for you, because none of those 3 players should be going in the top 8. I think even in the top 9. I think the highest Sanderson should be going is 10th to Winnipeg. Jack Quinn also probably highest 10th to Winnipeg. So I think that maybe Askarov is the one guy who would be horrible, but if they're going to take Askarov, since some people think that he's the best goalie prospect since Carey Price, and I actually kind of agree with that. Price with the 5th overall pick in 2005. So Askarov could also go 5th overall to the Senators, but Quinn shouldn't be going. He is at best like the 5th or 6th best forward who will probably be available at 5, and Jake Sanderson is the 2nd best defenseman, but Jamie Drysdale is way better, and if a team has a chance to select Drysdale and Sanderson, they're 100% should be taking Drysdale. He has a lot better upside. I think he is going to be a lot better of a player, but overall, they get Byfield, who's a center, so they're going to pick a winger here in Raymond. But if they pick Stutzla, it doesn't even matter if Rossi goes at 4. I think Ottawa will still probably take Lucas Raymond or Jamie Drysdale, but if Rossi doesn't go at number 4, I think the Senators are taking Rossi. With the 6th overall pick, I have the Anaheim Ducks taking the defenseman Jamie Drysdale. As I said, best defenseman in the class, and if he is available at number 6, even if Rossi's somehow still available there too, I think they're going to have to take Drysdale over him, because right now the Ducks have a pretty good forward prospect group. They just drafted Trevor Zegras. They've also got Sam Steele, Max Jones. Isaac Lundstrom. They've got a really good forward group, but they don't really have many defensive prospects, and they don't have number one defenseman anyways. But Drysdale is the number one defenseman they need, and he will be a Norris caliber defenseman in Anaheim. With the 7th overall pick, the New Jersey Devils taking Alexander Holtz. If Holtz is available at 7, the Devils are taking him. That's exactly who they need. They need a big sniper who can play next to Heischer or Hughes, and he will definitely elevate both of those players' games. This is the same pick as I had in my previous 2 mock drafts, Holtz to New Jersey. I think that this is a match made in heaven. He will play very well in New Jersey. With the 8th overall pick, I had the Buffalo Sabres taking the 8th man in this draft, Cole Perfetti, and for me, there's number 1, which is Lafreniere, then the tier 2 is 2 and 3, Stutzla and Byfield, and then it goes from 4 to 8, and I think, honestly, any of these players could really go in any order, but I think that for Perfetti, if he doesn't go at number 4 to the Red Wings, I think that he is probably going number 8 to the Buffalo Sabres, but this is a really good pick. This is the stability they need, and maybe that would make Eichel want to stay there, and there actually has been said that Buffalo isn't looking to move Eichel, and Eichel hasn't really requested a trade yet, but Perfetti could be a really good player playing alongside Eichel, Reinhart, and this actually wouldn't be a terrible team getting Perfetti. With the 9th overall pick, now we kind of get into the lower tier of players. The Wild take Anton Lundell. Lundell, I think, is an interesting player. I think he has the upside of being an elite first-line two-way center. Yeah, he could also be as low as just a third-line checking center, but I think the Wild should definitely take the risk here. As you see, I have them taking Lundell ahead of Askarov, who I had them taking the last mock draft, as I think that he's not going to go to Minnesota. Minnesota is going to get that number 1 center they need in Lundell, who is definitely the best defensive forward in this draft. And he is overall going to be an elite defensive player. The 10th overall pick, I have the Winnipeg Jets taking the defenseman they need in Jake Sanderson. And as I said, Ottawa could take Sanderson. I don't think that's going to happen. If Sanderson's available at 10, Winnipeg is taking him. They need a defenseman. They have a hugely depleted defensive core, obviously. So Sanderson's a guy they need, and they would love to get Sanderson at number 10. Now moving on to number 11, the Nashville Predators, they're taking the best player available in Jack Quinn. Again, he could have gone to Ottawa, but I don't think that really is going to happen, and I'm just doing it based on who, for Ottawa's pick, who I think they should pick, who I think is most likely to pick, that wouldn't just make all of Ottawa's fan base depressed. But Jack Quinn, really good pick here at number 11, best player available. I think he can be a 40-plus goal scorer in Nashville. With the 12th overall pick, I think the Florida Panthers are now going to take Dawson Mercer ahead of Braden Schneider. So Braden Schneider doesn't go to Florida anymore. They're taking Mercer. He is definitely the best forward available right now. I don't see them taking Askarov. That would be such a dumb pick. They already got Spencer Knight. So they're taking Mercer here. I think he could be a really good 1B or 2A center, and he did play for Team Canada in the World Juniors. Now moving on to number 13, the Carolina Hurricanes are going to take Yaroslav Askarov. So he goes at 13, and this is, I think, the spot where most people see him going. And as I said, he could be the next Carey Price. This is obviously a really, really good pick. Askarov, I think, is a lot better than Spencer Knight. In most draft classes, he would be a top 10 pick. So Carolina's getting a steal here. That's really the one thing they need. They need an elite goalie. Peter Mrazek doesn't fill that hole. But I think Peter Mrazek will be able to stay there and hold up for another 2 or 3 years while Askarov becomes a maybe top 5 goalie in the league. So now moving on to the 15th overall pick. The least pick that they got from Pittsburgh in the Kapanen trade. They're taking the right shot defenseman they need, Braden Schneider. I didn't have them taking Braden Schneider in my last mock draft, and up until like a couple days ago, I actually had Braden Schneider going to Florida, but I changed my mind. I had Dawson Mercer not going to Florida, and I think the Leafs are going to get Braden Schneider. If Braden Schneider is available at 15, they are taking Braden Schneider. He's the right shot defenseman they need, and I actually don't think that they desperately need the right shot defenseman that a lot of people are saying, and that it could maybe be smart, even if Schneider's available, to go with a guy like Seth Jarvis at 15 rather than Braden Schneider. But they still do need one. They have Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren as right shot defensemen, but I think they could add another in Schneider. Now, Sandin, I think, has potential to be a first pairing right shot defenseman, and honestly, if I were them, I probably would just sign a guy like Travis Hamonic in free agency, a right shot defenseman, roll with Sandin and Liljegren, and just pick the forward here at 15. But still, this would be a good pick, picking Braden Schneider, and if he's available, I think this is what they will do. Now, moving on to number 16, we have the Habs, and I think they're going to take the hometown kid, Hendrix Lapierre. If he's available, I think Bergevin will want to take him, as he does have a bias towards French-Canadian players, and he was actually supposed to be a top 10 pick, and then he got injured, and now he has dropped. I think he could still definitely be a mid-first round pick. If he's available, the Habs should take him, and I think they'll take him over other guys such as Dawson Mercer and Seth Jarvis, except for Jack Quinn. I think the Habs would like to have Jack Quinn, another sniper, but Hendrix Lapierre, very good player, and he has the upside of being a potential first liner, as he did have that at the beginning of the year before he got injured, and then he got injured, and that kind of dropped off. But I think he could be a first liner, and even if they don't hit it on this pick, I think that's okay, because they do have already probably, in my opinion, a top 3 prospect pool in the NHL. So now moving on to number 17, I have the Blackhawks taking Seth Jarvis, and I think this is a steal here for Chicago. If he's available at 17, Chicago will take him. He is without a doubt the best player available. Now at 18, I have the New Jersey Devils taking Caden Gooley. They're getting another defenseman here, playing with Ty Smith, but again, I think he is the best player available. It's a really good left shot defenseman, and I think he will be a solid top 4 defenseman in New Jersey. Now moving on to number 19, I have the Calgary Flames taking Connor Zary. Very good forward, and in any other year he would be a top 15 pick, but he drops here to 19. He should be a mid-first round pick, but Connor Zary, I think in a couple years, he'll be able to play in the NHL, and he has that second line forward potential, as he put up some really good points in the WHL. Now, the 20th overall pick, the Devils get their second pick here, and they're taking Noel Gunler, and he actually has jumped up quite a bit since the midterm rankings, and he has deserved this, and this is a good pick for them. They go with a defenseman at 18. I think they're going to go with this forward here at 20, and Noel Gunler actually has tons of potential, and another great guy to play with, Jack Hughes or Nico Hischier. Now at 21, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets taking first Russian Rodion Amirov. He's the best player available. He is a very good forward. Again, good potential top 6 forward. Now here's going to be probably a controversial one. I have the Rangers taking Justin Barron, and he was injured for a really good part of the year, and he was actually supposed to be a top 10 pick, and a lot of people had him ahead of Jamie Drysdale at the beginning of the year before he got injured. But he got injured and he dropped down a lot, and now he's supposed to be a late first round pick, or a lot of people even have him in the early second round. But now we're starting to get into that lower tier of defensemen. I think Gooley is in that mid tier with Braden Schneider. But now I think there's 5 or 6 or 4 or 5 defensemen here in this late first round, early second round range. And the Rangers are going to take a risk here, as they don't really have any needs on their team except for a number 1 defenseman. But they do have tons of second-pairing defensemen, and they could maybe build a defensive core similar to Carolina, the Carolina's defensive core last year, as they have Adam Fox, Keandre Miller, they have Ryan Lindgren, I believe, is a defenseman. I know I'm forgetting someone, or Nils Lundqvist, another guy, but the Rangers have some really good defensemen, and Barron, I think, is going to be a really high-risk, high-reward pick. He could end up being only a third-pairing depth guy, but I think he could be a first-pairing defenseman, or even a number 1 defenseman, proving us wrong and showing that he is still what he was before his injury. Now, at the 23rd overall pick, I have the Philadelphia Flyers taking Maverick Bork. He put up some really good numbers, and overall he probably could be a good middle sixth forward, maybe even top sixth forward as well in Philly, and they're just going with a pretty easy pick here, and he is probably one of the top players available. Now, moving on to number 24, I have the Washington Capitals taking Jan Mysak, another guy who has probably risen up the rankings a bit, and he actually put up some really impressive points this year, something that was quite overlooked, and I think that the Capitals would love to take Mysak here at 24. Now, at 25, I have the Colorado Avalanche taking Jacob Perreault, son of former NHLer Yannick Perreault, and I'd also like to add, I think from 22 to maybe even like 40 in the second round, all the players are very close, but from 22 to 31 at the end of this first round, all these players are really close. They could pretty much go in any order as they're really close in skill level, and a lot of teams will pick off their positional needs. At 26, I have the St. Louis Blues taking German John Jason Peterka. He put up a really good performance in the World Juniors this year, and he is going to be the second German pick in this draft behind second overall pick Tim Stutzla, but really good pick for the Blues here. Now, at number 27, I have the Anaheim Ducks taking Helge Grans, a good defenseman who I think could rise up really high and be a surprise pick in the draft. He's a right-shot defenseman, and again, Anaheim needs a defenseman. If they're not taking Jamie Drysdale, they have to take a defenseman with this pick, but they're taking Jamie Drysdale, why not add another guy to their defensive core? Grans, who I think can be a solid second-pairing defenseman. Now, at 28, I have the Ottawa Senators taking a guy with a really hard shot, Tyson Forrester. I think he has one of the hardest shots in this draft class I've heard, but he's put up some good numbers. I think he could probably go anywhere from 24 to 35. He could go early second round as well, but Ottawa's getting a good pick here with their third pick in the first round. And now we're up to Vegas' pick at 29. And I have Vegas taking William Wallander, another defenseman, and I think Vegas will want to pick a defenseman here as they don't have a great defensive prospect pool. They got Cody Glass, who's a forward, but just overall they don't really have a great prospect pool. William Wallander can be a really good pick, and some people have him even in the top 20. I don't think he should go that high, but I think late first round, really early second round is about right for him, as he is a good player. Now, at 30, I have the Dallas Stars taking Lukas Reichel, the third German in the first round. I believe this is the first time that 3 Germans go in the first round, but I think this is a bit low for him. A lot of people have him going in the 20-30 range, but the Stars get a really good pick here. Again, the Stanley Cup Finals isn't done yet, but Tampa's leading 3-2, so I'm just going to have it in this order, but it doesn't really matter. I think that Dallas would still get Reichel at 31, and if San Jose had the 30th overall pick, obviously they have that pick from Tampa. I think they could still pick the same guy. So I have the San Jose Sharks at 31, rounding off this mock draft, taking Lucas Cormier, another defenseman. And he has kind of fallen off the first round, but I see him going in this late first round range, maybe 25 at the highest. But the Sharks need a defenseman. They've got Brent Burns, Marc-Edouard Vlasic, and Erik Karlsson. We're all good, but Burns and Marc-Edouard Vlasic are old, and they are overpaid. They're on pretty bad contracts, but other than those three, their bottom 3 defense is awful. It's absolutely horrible. Cormier, a guy who could be a decent second-pairing defenseman. They would need another defensive prospect there who could actually have a good shot of being a productive player in the NHL. So guys, there is my mock draft. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, as always, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. Remember, we're trying to reach 100 likes on this video, so make sure to do that if you haven't done that already. But I hope you have enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in the next one.